Today's video is brought to you by the novel 9/10.
Alternative Media Television. More than 50,000 subscribers. 9.8 million YouTube views. 1 million last month. The #1 grassroots media organization. Our passion for liberty and truth is unmatched. AMTV contributor Topher Morrison.
Is the Federal Reserve responsible for gold's bloodbath? After 12 years of a bullish gold market, the last 6 months has been a bit of a bloodbath for gold in what is now being confidently announced by major news outlets as officially a bear market. Gold is now down 27% since its all-time high, down even after multiple rounds of the Federal Reserve's quantitative easing and subsequent record market highs. Last Friday, a small cadre of institutional investors, hedge funds, and their acolytes, purportedly led by the Federal Reserve, made an assault on gold when they dumped 500 tons of naked shorts on the market. That is 15% of annual gold mining production worldwide. It drove down prices precipitously, a trend that continued today. This, according to Goldcore, underlines how one or two large banks or hedge funds can completely distort the market by aggressive, concentrated, leveraged short positions. In an atmosphere of states turning to gold as legal tender, COMEX inventories low, alluring alternative currencies such as Bitcoin, and in an atmosphere when the EU and the US economic fundamentals still are suffocating growth in the developed world, does this really scream confidence or conspiracy? And just another smart opportunity to hedge against collapse. That's right, it is April 15th. It's tax day, and it just turned 100. The year was 1913, a year Ron Paul once mentioned he really liked to repeal. While Washington loves to celebrate anniversaries, lauding its expansion, this tax day, the 16th Amendment, which provided for the direct taxation of Americans' income, will slip by without fireworks. At least the kind we like to enjoy. Yet Ronald Hansen, writing for the Arizona Republic carried in the USA Today, provides the reasoning behind why we tax. The U.S. kept a small military in the days prior to the income tax, and its international relations were not substantial during a time of relative isolation. There was no income security for the retired, the disabled, the orphaned, or the unlucky. There were no highways, not to mention air traffic to control. Scientific research was limited. Working conditions were whatever an employer made them, good or bad. Recessions were more common and lasted longer. Banks failed more often, and their customers faced ruin, since there was no government guarantees. States and local authorities, the ones often reeling from national disasters, responded to such crises on their own time and dime. From that fitful environment, a more active and thus more expensive federal government took shape. Taxes and rising debt made it possible. Well, that was a lot to chew on, but it was recently reported that the federal government would rake in $2.7 trillion this year, an all-time high in tax receipts, yet balanced budgets for some reason are out of reach. Debts and the interest paying them are outstanding. Wars in the department which services them are a fact of life, not a last resort. The poor are still poor, and in fact their numbers are exploding. A demographic tide threatens every safety net good intentions provided us. If FEMA does report to a national disaster, they're late to the show and outpaced by NGOs. And the growth necessary to support it all? Anemic. What Hansen and so many others neglect to mention is the United States managed by 1906 in a little over 130 years to surpass every nation on the globe in economic might and standard of living. That is, without empire, without a central bank, and without an income tax. It is clear, while government has grown, the vicissitudes of life have remained the same. But what was once a myriad of problems left to be solved or suffered intimately on the local level has now been aggregated and elevated to only a few in Washington. What were once provincial problems are now an endless parade of national crises, of which our laboratories of democracy, our communities, and our families are often prevented from solving themselves. The federal government is undoubtedly more active, but is it, after a century of its people's investment, more effective? I'll leave that answer to you. Capturing every corner of the alternative media, This is AMTV News. Follow us Monday through Friday and on Twitter at AMTV News. Like us on Facebook at Greenwave TV. And you can find our source material at amtvmedia.com and greenwave.com. Both are part of the AMTV network. Please follow our sponsors below. And this is AMTV, the voice of independence.